All right. Good morning, good evening. Depends where you are joining us from. I know you guys always, wait for Brian to jump on the call on Monday morning in general. But since he's traveling, he's right now in Singapore, so it falls under on my court. So I'm going to take this live session today. I'll be hosting with Liza, one of our fastest growing company at Expert DOJO. I'll bring her up in a couple of minutes. If you don't know me, my name is Ash. I run the entire portfolio at Expedose. I'm also the partner and also the general partner for Expedose India Fund. But I'll not bore you with my introduction and stuff. We have such an amazing founder and her story, her growth journey to talk about today. I'm going to bring her up and then we'll just take it right after. So, Sasank, would you mind bringing Liza up on the screen as well?
I am here.
Hey, Liza, how are you?
Hi. Hi, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening to the world. I'm doing
Yeah,
well,
we have
thank
like
you.
people watching us from all over the world. How are you doing
That
today?
is awesome. Yeah, I'm doing well, doing well. It's an early morning here in Pacifica. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful day.
Wait, what part of California you live in?
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. In particular, there's this small town called Pacifica right by the ocean. So I know you're
Amazing.
in Santa Monica. It's
We
beautiful
are.
there, warm water. Here it's
There
quite
was
cold.
there was a heat wave going on for literally
Oh
one
yeah,
week in 10 days, but no more. We're back again with the beautiful weather. It's still
yeah.
sometime outside in the evening. But thank you so much for joining. Why don't we just like give us 1 minute intro about you and your company, how you started, and then we dig in right after. It's more like a lot of our audience is watching. They are like the founders,
Mhm.
sometimes they're investors. So you never know who's watching you. So just walk us through your
Right.
journey, walk us what exactly LiVeritas does, and then we'll dig in.
Okay, sounds good. So, I'm Lieza Danan, CEO, co-founder of LiVeritas Biosciences. We build digital twin technologies for drug quality, safety, and efficacy. So it's for end-to-end drug development for the biopharma industry. So far, we have worked with 15 clients already and generated $1.5 million worth of revenue. So how did we start? It really came from more than 2 decades of frustration working in the field of mass spectrometry and learning over time that my craft I will not evolve further in learning my craft or the field of mass spec unless you have the right tools that will automate some of the most tedious parts of the process. So there's a lot of frustrations that came about working in the field for the past 25 years. And, it just kept happening. It was not being resolved in the past 2 decades. I still experience, for the longest time, even when I was in the drug development industry, I would experience problems that the same problems that I would have experienced when I was like 20 years old, and I'm like 44 now. It was horrendous, as a mass spectrometrist, and our lifestyles did not really evolve for the better, not as much, like we're putting so much time and effort into doing what we love, but we're not fully supported by the industry or by the field where we devoted our life, uh, using the technology for different types of applications. Yeah. So it's
Amazing.
frustration.
And yeah, exactly. It's such a hard market as well to tap into. Not everyone can does it. Like the patients, like in general, if you are building something which is a healthcare device and you are in like size biotech, like you need FDA approval and stuff, it's painful, right? So not everyone can crack the code. So what was the secret sauce that you have,
Mm.
not all the other founders knows about in this industry, and what brings the company at growing at such an exponential rate?
So, we AI, the life sciences right now is such a big, how do you say this? It's such a big term right now, right?
Mhm.
But at the bottom line, it's really the expert that is feeding information into your AI that is important. Like, how can you create a solid AI that will make a big impact without sacrificing quality in the processes that you're working on? So the secret sauce is we have the team that has the right balance of understanding software engineering and chemistry and the expertise in mass spectrometry. And we also have another with solid biopharma experience. And we're not talking about like, you know, um, an average biopharma scientist. We're talking about pioneers in the field who've been around the block for like decades, um, and at the forefront of drug development. So when
Mhm.
you combine both, you have the unique hybrid combination of skills of chemistry, mass spectrometry, and software engineering. And we've been friends for a long time. So you have trust and respect there drizzled in, right? And then you have pioneers in the drug development space with expertise from like research to process development to regulatory to understanding preclinical pharmacology and clinical pharmacology, pretty much the entire drug development process. The opportunities become endless.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that is our secret sauce, and we translate them into our AI solutions. Um, the issue that we encounter in the beginning is we don't have the right tools that we need, so
Mhm.
we need to build from scratch. So like Expert Dojo has been supporting us for so long, since the beginning. Like, Brian is a great mentor during this process, this evolution. And so from 4 years ago to now, you'll notice like we embrace the slow and steady growth process.
Mhm.
Um,
Hey, you
and
know what? Slow
yeah,
and steady wins the race. There's a famous saying.
right. And then, knowing myself as a human, as a my personal style, and then even something that I realized as a scientist,
Sorry, Liza,
I,
you
I I
froze.
perform better in the slow and steady. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back
Hello?
again.
Am I back? Okay.
Yeah, you're
So I
good.
was saying like my personal style is start slow and steady, because you need to put things around you in their proper places, right?
Hmm.
And then at some point, it's there's going to be an inflection point. And I think right now we are at that inflection point.
And that's what at Expert Dojo we divide that whole journey in three horizon in general. Like
Yeah.
horizon one, when you are experimenting with the early, like kind of like pretty much like the new team members that you never
Mhm.
knew before, like your
Yeah.
co-founder, you're finding fit and stuff, juggling,
Oh,
building your
yeah.
product around, right? So it's like until you hit the product market fit, and at the transition stage where you are at, then you move to the horizon
Mhm.
two, where you start building the system, processes, and stuff, and make the company more sustainable for the long term to aim for the
Mhm.
horizon three, which is like literally expansion and scalability, right? So I think
Exactly.
that's why you already know that your product market fit defined, and now you're entering to horizon 2, where you're gonna, you know it's gonna be more than like early team members, and then you're gonna kind of like start building the system processes and
Exactly.
experimenting with AI tools and things that you were talking about. We'll dig more into how exactly you included the AI and machine learning aspect into this whole drug testing side of it as well.
Mm.
But for our
I can't
audience,
reveal too much because that's all proprietary.
I will, of
That's our
course,
secret sauce,
100%.
right? Exactly how we're
Everything
using.
that can go on the public platform, we can just talk about that, right? Not
Yeah.
on the algorithm side of it. But for the audience, like who doesn't know about the mass spectrometry and stuff like
Mhm.
that, would you mind explaining a little bit the scientific term? I know you being scientists, you are like kind
Oh
of like,
gosh, where
yeah.
do I begin? Okay, so So mass spectrometry is one of the most sophisticated tools in analytical chemistry right now, used to measure molecules around us. So everywhere around us, we are made of molecules, right? So think about it this way: the coffee you drink, you can quantify the amount of coffee in your, the amount of caffeine in your coffee. Any contaminants in your water, you can quantify pesticides and any pretty much small amounts of toxins that could be in the food we eat, in the environment we are exposed to, and then of course in our blood systems as well. You measure, the usual things that our doctors report to. So all of these things are molecules, right? Biomarkers. Um, Indications of disease, drug targets. These are all molecules, right? So our specialty is measuring what we call the actual drug that's given to us when we are sick.
Mhm.
So there's this one big instrument. It's about like, typically costing like $500,000 that digitizes these molecules all around us and we're part of. And pretty much what it does is at low amounts of these molecules in whatever sample there is, like it is uh, sprayed into the gas phase. So it's converted from the liquid phase or an aqueous phase into the gas phase. And once it is in the gas phase, it is supercharged using high voltage. So think about like 3.3 to 5 kilovolts. That's a lot. That's a lot of power in there. So you can
Exactly.
exactly get you can get electrocuted if you accidentally touch that particular source.
Wow.
So that's the first step, right? So you turn the sample from its liquid form or aqueous form into the gas phase, and then introduced it into a high vacuum hardware where different settings of voltages inside the instrument guide its movement into what we call the mass analyzer. So through the ion optics, the mass analyzers, and then into the detector. So that's pretty much what it is. And then signal is converted into, you know, digital form that we can look at into in the computer. So using software tools that are usually developed by vendors. And then from there, then sky's the limit. The moment you see lines and numbers, right, represented, which are representation of your actual sample, then you can use sophisticated tools out there that are appropriate for your applications to make sense of the science behind it.
Mhm.
And pretty much you're explaining it based off biochemistry rules and yeah, so you can make sense in the context of the application you're using it for.
That's very interesting, and that's why the integration of two technology these days
Hmm.
is very kind of
So
like
important.
exactly, it's emerging, and investors are running behind. Like we're talking about AI and blockchain.
Right.
There's a huge scope of thing that you can, kind of like solve, and like the problems that you can solve and build a sustainable businesses, right? So for you, it's like bioscience, life science in general, and then AI and machine learning. So tell me more about, like, I know you've been kind of like building your product when you were in Horizon One, like in last over the last
Right.
4 years. Let's dig deeper a little bit about how you are using AI and machine learning in your day-to-day operations, or also for on your product as well. And then yeah, please go
Oh,
ahead.
so like, because I've been in the drug development industry since 2010, and heavily involved in testing these different drug products. And so um, the biggest frustration is there's minimal to no automation in the big when I started my career.
Hmm.
um, and 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 so the first step is for of Liveritas is um, try to figure out where exactly in the back end of data processing and data analysis we can apply automation. Like what needs to be automated. There's a lot of questions there that needs automation. So There's part of that is, again, I can't say all of the, I can't share our applications, but mostly it's in the data. We started with the data processing, right?
Hmm.
Typically, we'll spend like 4 weeks to process 100 samples. Not in the laboratory. The laboratory part is streamlined, and we can streamline it further, but it's already relatively streamlined and templated. Um, Most of our time as scientists, as mass spectrometers, we spend in front of the computer. And literally, the first project at LiVeritas, it took us like 4 weeks to complete analyzing all the data. And at the end, we have arms that are, very tired. Our necks are stiff because of all of the manual data processing we had to go through. Um, so I'll put it there. Like the first part is in the data processing part. And then the first application is in the data processing part. The second application is the quantification part. And then later on, you look at, okay, how can we integrate all of this other information that we know about this project that can help in streamlining the back end processing? That I can share. We're doing other things, obviously. So we started with that application, and now we're branching out to many other applications out there within the realm of molecular testing, product molecular testing. Again, we're not doing biomarkers, so we're focused right now on drug product molecular testing. So
Hmm.
it's extremely focused and much needed by the drug development industry.
Yeah, and who are you targeting as a customer in general? Like, who are your target customers in your mind?
So the target customers will be people like me.
Mm.
The roles that um, I used to um, I used to hold in the drug development industry, right? So it's and concretely, and there are many of my friends are in similar roles right now. I mean, they've advanced in their careers. So it's a, you wear the hat. I switch hats. I switch from like 5, 10 different hats. So if I
Right.
wear my scientist hat, then I'm like, okay, what is the perspective of our end user? Perspective of what's the perspective of our target audience, right? So um and then I confirm it by working with our clients, confirming it through feedback from our clients. So these are biopharma professionals who've been mass spectrometrists, who are analytical chemists, who are involved in quality testing of various drugs. So and then of course there are and their bosses are what would be our target. These are the people we talk to on a regular basis. Yes.
Right. No, interesting. And I believe veritas in Latin means truth, right?
Mhm.
What was the motivation
Yes.
behind the brand name LiVeritas?
Well, so I was going through my spiritual journey when I, that like realized that's the name that I want for my company. So Liber is chemistry or science, and veritas
Mhm.
is truth. So we combine the two words just to shorten it a little bit, so it becomes Liveritas. It's literally, we are automating delivery of truth that is grounded in biochemistry. So yeah, that's the name, right? Like automating delivery of truth for our clients that is grounded in biochemistry or chemistry.
And you can never deny the maths, the numbers behind it, the data, right? So it's very data driven truth that you're bringing in
It's
front of
very data driven. Our truth is data driven at the molecular level.
There you go.
I mean, as long as you maintain quality, right? You maintain accuracy, and you maintain consistency,
Hmm.
um, and you cross check your processes with standards. You're confident that you are reporting as close as possible to what is the truth. Yeah.
Exactly. And you just mentioned you were going through a spirituality journey, right?
Hmm.
Let's talk about a little bit mindset, which helps having
Oh
founder
yeah.
reaching the peak performance, right? So being
Yes.
an early stage founder, how much do you think mindset is very important thing that you need to have, in your journey? Because if you're a solo founder and watching this,
Yeah.
journey is lonely. I wasn't a founder but earlier, so I know how lonely journey it is. If you have a co-founder,
Mm.
again, it's like it's a different story altogether. So talk about a little bit the kind of having impact, peak performance, and mindset in the spiritual as well as the entrepreneurial journey. I know it's go hand to hand together, right?
Mhm. Well, you're only one person, so your spiritual side is the same as your work side, right? So if you
Mhm.
have aligned heart, mind, body, you're working towards self-integration, then it's just one person that's coming out. Mindset is everything,
It
right?
is, right?
Mindset is everything. I mean, oh my God. Brian knows my story from the moment, we started the company, and what regardless of all the challenges that came our way, the only thing that was constant is the mindset, and it kept on helping us move forward. Um, as an immigrant, you go through so many challenges.
Absolutely.
Um, Here, in whichever country you move to, right? You pretty much uproot yourself and get rid of all of your support structure around you when you leave your country of origin and plant yourself in a brand new country. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like all of those are gone except for one thing. You have a dream and you're like
Yeah.
working towards achieving your dream, whatever that dream is, right? And so when you're extremely focused there, and that's pretty much what I've done. You get lost sometimes with how do you achieve your dream, and you get lost in, let's just say, in the weeds, right? You get very busy about the day to day, but what reorients you is at some point some life challenges wakes you up and brings you back to your original trajectory. I mean, that's what happened to me for sure. Like, I've been in this trajectory of being an overachiever for so long, in back in the Philippines. And so I came here and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting from scratch, but I didn't know what that meant, right? And then this life situation just happened and woke me up and brought me back to where I need to be. I'm like, oh, I just need to reconnect with who I really am, how my
Yeah.
parents raised me. And luckily, I was gifted with amazing, loving parents, caring parents. And it brings you that, what's familiar, right? Like, it goes back to where you came from. So the mindset we're really talking about is where I came from. So focus a lot on, excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, these are my values: excellence, integrity, and then also having fun. Um, these three things are so important. And then of course you put in there respect, right? Respect for everything around us. So those four things are my core values, and these are when you realign those at the spiritual level, then you know what your operating system is, what your rules
Mm-hmm.
are, and then you build from that. So you find the people around, you select the right people with similar values. And I'm so glad Expert Dojo Brian is one of them. um, and then you start drizzling it with new system wide, infrastructure that can help in, um, spreading it to the team, and that can help influence the team. So one thing that I added in my life is positive psychology.
Mm-hmm.
I know Brian mentioned this in one of the previous, interviews.
Yeah.
Positive psychology for Liveritas is like a ground truth, right? It's not. It's something that I require from my team members. There's this thing that we follow. We hire with IQ, so you get your first entry level, your first way to get in the company is you need to have a high IQ and the right skill sets, right? Now, how are you sure that you're going to be maintained in the company? Well, you need to continue producing good quality work, right? Consistently good quality work.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, and have very high and have high EQ. So that's how I built the team. Like high IQ is entry level. Now, if you cannot, if you do not, if team members have high EQ and um, can consistently produce good quality work, then you are the core team of Leveritas. Then the
Mm,
next question is, how do you promote your team? Then I added another level of intelligence, which is like, okay, you get promoted if you have high PQ as well. So we all go through this workshop on like positive psychology. In particular, it's called positive intelligence.
mhm.
Um, you can find it online.
And, and and this is very important in an entrepreneurial journey, having a
right.
positive mindset, a positive psychology, what you're talking
Yes.
about. Otherwise, it will drain you out. Like day-to-day
Oh,
operation at early stage, like I can remember, I still remember those days when I was a founder, So
right.
you
And
hit the nail exactly, like having
yeah,
an IQ and then matching that with EQ and targeting towards PQ is the
yeah,
core of everything. And then at
yeah.
Dojo, we follow the same thing. Sorry, you have a point there.
Right. So, like we didn't, our company, our team didn't just go through the usual challenges of a startup. Like we went through COVID. We started during COVID,
Hmm.
right? And then after the presidential, 4 years ago, after the presidential election, that's when we started getting, that's when we were able to raise close to $1 million for early seed round. And I'm like, okay, now we're funded, so let's keep going. And then a year later, I got sick with cancer. And I'm like, I saw my team like, okay, Liza, what are we gonna do? And they all look at me. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to go through chemo for 6 months. So what do you do with this? We kept going. My team stepped up. Just
Wow.
imagine like their experience, like, oh my gosh, our leader is sick for 6 months. What are we gonna do? I am so grateful for my team. They
Mm.
stepped up during that time. It was a very stressful situation, but they kept going. That's the time when I brought in positive intelligence into, how can we use this framework to keep going with the company. And like, they're really nice. And that was called ins- my they I guess I became like an inspirational person in the company, and called the spiritual warriors, what I was going through at that time. But even with managing my cancer, I just used positive psychology to go through it, and it helped so much. Now after cancer, right, like, okay, we're back in the game again, like a year later now. Oh my gosh, we started seeing our revenues on that year, while I was sick.
Hmm.
And then afterwards it even doubled. And so we had that trajectory where, like, wow, okay, this is working. Let's continue using positive psychology to fuel us,
Hmm.
regardless of what challenges we're facing. Until, like, you have the market.
No,
You have
I also the thing is
slowdown
like
of the biopharma market.
having a positive psychology is not just only fuel your company growth, but also
Yeah.
internally each individual. It's like feeds in
Yes.
everyone need. Like when you were on the bed in hospital, like
Yeah.
your positive psychology somehow help you heal just in 6 months. There are people
Yeah.
still struggling, right? So it's all the mindset. It helps you internally to
All
heal,
mindset.
and it helps you just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, that drives us here at Dojo as well. Like you have seen Brian's energy. Like we all are
Yes.
100% optimists, and targeting the next milestone. You know,
Yeah, I think it's positive psychology is the best friend of every founder, of every
hundred
founding
percent,
team. It's like, it's 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 the bloods it's in it should be in the bloodstream of the founding team of any
totally.
startup. Like,
And by the way,
if you have a
David
yeah.
saying very inspiring story,
Oh,
Liza.
thank you. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you
No,
so
you
much.
do have a
Yeah.
very inspiring story. I'll just ask you one question about like our founders watching us today. Like, see, it sounds like you hit one of the big milestone having a dream team. in your company, right? Like as you mentioned, how a founder who is starting today for the first time, let's say being a solo founder, having an idea and having like a little bit of traction, early validation, demand validation done in
Mhm.
the market, but looking to build a dream team or having co-founder, how did you nail that part specifically? And then I'll dig in a little bit on your growth journey, and then we'll ask
Right.
people ask questions as
Yeah.
well in the chat.
Ash, it's a lot of trial and error. There were
Mm-hmm.
more of us in the beginning. But then, like intuitively, I set this framework for how to build a team. Um, and it's a lot of trial and error. You bring in the best minds for sure, like very high IQ, very, very smart people, very talented people. Um, and then like what I said, we literally, that's what those are the frame that's the framework we use. Like we maintain people with high EQ,
Mm.
and we can consistently produce good quality work regardless of what we were going through. um and luckily, I'm blessed with five team members, five co-founders, founding team members, who in the past, how many years now, 4 years, over 4 years. um
Mhm.
Two of my co-founders been with me for, yeah, close to 4 years,
Wow, that's
starting.
huge. You know what?
Yeah,
Statistically, if you cross 3 years of your journey together, there's a
yeah,
very less chance of like getting into conflict and getting the company in a different direction altogether.
yeah.
I've seen that like 68% of the time, really, the company fails because of the co-founder conflict within first 3 years. So 3 is the timeline when you need to like kind of build the relationship, see if it's going
Right.
in the right direction or not, right?
Yeah, but like but how do you say this? I've known some of my co-founders since a couple of my co-founders, I've known them since I was 16 years old.
Exactly.
So there's like trust and respect in the relationship very early
Yeah.
on. And then you put in the positive psychology. You put the, I know them. They're have high IQ, high EQ, and then you put in the PQ. It just helps so much with conversations, when we're with difficult conversations,
Mm.
resolving conflict or misunderstandings, or how do you communicate in a constructive way? Stress, burned out. Like we've been in and out of burned out this past 4 years. It's
Exactly.
no joke. And the way to neutralize burnout is positive psychology. And then of course the positive psychology is being like a sage, right? Like Brian would give to how Brian operates an expert dojo. There's
Hmm.
a lot of compassion and kindness associated with it,
Totally.
and a lot of respect. So respect for the other person, respect for the situation, and you
Mhm.
drizzle it with empathy. It's powerful. Now, of course, you need to balance it out with bringing out the whip as well. That's not really a whip, but more like being firm, right? With, okay, these are the company milestones. I know you're going through this situation right now. I'm also burning out, so let's just give each other space. Take a vacation if you need it.
Right.
I mean,
Or
again,
go for
running.
a spiritual healing, at some point.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough part, tall order. But just be grounded and stay grounded. And we encourage in our team, we encourage vacations.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
respect vacations of each. We respect each other's vacations. Because like if you don't go on vacation, how will you reset?
Mm.
Right? You have stress. You can only tolerate so much stress.
Right.
You
No,
have
it,
you have to spend time with
it
friends.
does
You have to
helping the
spend time with
reset.
family.
100%.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah. And then when you get back, now you're positive again because you just had so much,
Good
so
time
much,
with your loved ones, right?
exactly, love and care from your loved ones. And
Mm.
so what we do internally, we drizzle that into our meetings too. I mean,
Wow.
we're friends and we've known each other for so long, right? Most of us. And then I guess we have two found one co-founder I've met like maybe around 4 years ago. but
Hmm.
like he passed all those metrics, right? Like, oh, he can do this, 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 and this. I'm like, oh, we love you.
Yeah.
I know you're new to the team. You're new, because you're less than 10. I've known you for less than 5 years, but we love you. You should
Right.
just make it inclusive. Inclusivity, it's not about how inclusivity, in my opinion, it's all about the tone that you set in in the company, right? Like,
Hmm.
it's in the words you use.
Absolutely. And that's why,
It's
even though
Mhm.
at Expert Dojo, the dojo itself means the place of continuous learning, right? So
There you
you are
go.
learning
Yeah.
from each other
Oh
every
yeah.
day. And then, as you mentioned, like hire people with high EQ and IQ, spend time with the intelligent people than yourself, and then you'll grow with them, right? And
Yes.
they will grow
Yeah.
with you at the same
Yeah,
time, right?
there are many people with very high IQ. I mean, there's so
Hmm.
many smart people out there, right? But then, we're going through this journey of like, how do I build? Who's the ideal co-founder? What is it? I thought it was like high IQ is good. Like, no, 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 it's not enough. No, you really need to be selective. So you look at the personal journeys of the greats, right? Like great
Hmm.
scientists out there, the Nobel laureates. Like, what do they have? Right? What
Right.
do they have? Or not just the scientists. Maybe if you go beyond the sciences, what about the most influential political figures? What about artists who became billionaires, right? What sets them apart from an average performing artist, right? You start looking at the pattern, and then you realize, okay, there are certain qualities that they have,
The common
and
threads, right?
right, there's certain level of awareness that they
Hmm.
have. They have a certain level of understanding themselves, uh, integration of their own self, like, right,
Right.
like, yeah. So I did I'm doing my best to educate myself with all kinds of those soft skills that we don't really talk much about, right? Like, what
and,
is
and
it?
and these are the metrics. Like people think like starting a company is like having $1 billion ideas and then coding and doing marketing and fundraising. These are the aspect, but these stuff that you're talking about, if you don't follow, the company will fall through. Right. So it's very
Right.
important.
I mean, the $1 billion idea has to be there, right? That's
It
a
has
that's
to
a
be there.
that's
It's
like,
one
it has
matrix,
to
but
be.
all this thing is the back end. It's also equally important, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Cool. Hey, I can go hours and hours talking about all this stuff, right? but the one thing that I want to talk about right now, like since you are, tell me more about your at LiVeritas, how much you are raising at the moment. We do have like
Oh,
investors watching us as well, and
oh,
then
great.
how much you're raising, what's the current growth rate looks like, and when you're gonna hit the series in, that marks a little bit more about the company growth journey and the fundraising side of it.
Right. So far we've raised $1.7 million. We don't necessarily announce this, but historically we've raised 1.7 million already. So now we are in a stage where we call pre-series A, because literally, we're planning for our series A. So currently we have an open round for $500,000, and there are commitments already of more than $150,000. We're in the midst of due diligence as well, from one of our current investors who's looking at investing more money at us. So it's gonna, hopefully we will close this very quickly after this, and we've surrounded ourselves with a Filipino American community as well, as our the other group of angel investors who are looking at us right now. And so that's our pre-series A bridge round, and then less than a year later the goal is to open series A, so at a much higher valuation. I would say like, hopefully up to 3x valuation, our current
Yeah.
valuation. So yeah, we're using this money right now, of course, to to build the team, to add the key contributors that will help us reach our series A, pre-series A milestones, and then also continue building our product.
Mhm.
Now we raised this. Many people would ask, why are you only raising 500,000? It's because we're generating revenue as well. So we have um, a list of our we're so glad about we're so happy with our so grateful about our 15 clients. Some of our clients have already ordered up to $950,000 worth of tests for the next year. So we're building our backlog right now. Yeah, our backlog, or we can't execute all of that with the current resources that we have. So we would definitely need to expand the team and for the next level of growth. Yeah, so that's where we are. So
No,
pre-series A
amazing.
first, and
Hmm.
then just the bridge round 500K, and then later on we're gonna open series A at most likely 2x 3x of the current valuation. Yeah.
And you are absolutely on the right trajectory. We have seen it, the growth rate internally
Mm,
at Expert DOJO. So definitely, it's
yeah.
easy peasy for you to hit the milestone without a doubt. Um, what are the
Plus, there's
what are the areas like? Are you just operating and targeting the U.S. market as well, or you're going global as well in the future? What's your expansion
so
plan?
yeah, most of our clients at the moment are based here in the US. But we have a couple who are from Europe. The main headquarters of this public biotech company is in Europe. But in terms of marketing, we have not marketed outside yet.
Yeah,
But we are targeting global market, of course. And drug development is our beachhead. So eventually, you're gonna see us in different verticals and other verticals. So it's
right.
just gonna keep on growing. There's so many ways to grow the company. It's amazing as long as you have the appropriate tools in place.
Mhm.
And we're getting into that point. Like in the past 3 years, we were able to grow the company from $100,000 revenue to $360,000 revenue a
There you
year
go.
later. And then last year, we closed the books at $750,000 revenue in a when the biopharma market is slowing down.
Exactly.
So our trajectory, we thought we're gonna keep growing 3x every year.
Hmm.
But the biopharma market slowed down, but that's okay because from the very beginning, the goal is to turn the company into a recession-proof company. So I have like multiple ideas of multiple business models that we're developing in the background. So this year, biopharm has slowed down, but we created value in a different way in the company. We have improved our technology. So everyone, the team was here in the Bay Area, and we focus on developing the technology. We've included different forms of AI
Hmm.
to speed up our testing process internally, and then be ready with the beta version of our tools. Currently, we have paying customers already for beta testing. So
That's
that's where
amazing.
we are. So now we have two different business models, and it's just going to keep on growing. It's going to keep on growing. And I can't reveal much, but there's a long list of products and offerings that we have in
Right.
place, making sure that our Series A is going to be 3x,
100%.
3x
No, you
our current
you will be
valuation.
on the 3x trajectory for sure.
Well, I'm,
Uh,
I'm crossing my fingers that I'm
Fingers
doing.
crossed, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
People
yeah.
who are
My
watching us, if you have any questions and concern, please drop that in the chat for Liza, and then I'll bring it up.
yeah.
In the meantime, Liza, it's been an amazing conversation. What's your one piece of advice for specifically people? I'm going to target, like, let's say, in general, people who has PhD and who are on the scientist kind of a role, who are like way deep into the, kind of their project and their research. It's very inspiring for them to see and start a company from scratch, right? So what's a piece of advice that you'll give to those uh, community in general, where the obvious trajectory in the career is like going in a college and teaching or doing a research in the lab, and then how exactly, what drive you to being an entrepreneur? What's a piece of advice? I know you're going to talk
Oh
a lot
God.
about it.
Oh man. Don't be afraid in venturing out of the field that you're comfortable in. Um, I've been a scientist since I was 12 years old. Went to a science high school, and don't be afraid in venturing out um, from your field. It's be comfortable in being uncomfortable. Um, it's There's more to life than what we are trained to do, and so you appreciate life more when um, you broaden your perspective, you broaden your network beyond the sciences.
Mm.
So, and as long as you're aligned, right, heart, mind, and body, I went through that. That was my evolution, like keeping myself more and more and more aligned.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a more it's a more fulfilled life, in my opinion, and based on my experience, it's a happier life. Yeah.
Wow. No, you.
It-
I like the sentence that you use. Be comfortable in going uncomfortable, right? So
yeah.
this is a strange thing, right? Most people are in their comfort zone. They don't even want to go out of that zone.
Yeah.
But life
It's
happens when you have,
scary.
right? It's
Like I,
scary.
I understand it is scary, but like most scientists, we love challenges. We're always
Mhm.
curious. We love learning, especially those who went for advanced degrees. The
Yeah.
reason we went for advanced degrees, we love to learn more things, right? So yeah, as long as you don't have the ego driving you and you put it in the back seat and just keep learning, sky's the limit.
Yeah. Someone just texted me on LinkedIn instead of putting the
Mm.
chat. Um, so the gentleman is asking, how can you define, like, if you are building such a, like hot take kind of thing, like where you have like
Mhm.
lots of thing, like, I don't know, he's building a hot take, but he's asking in general. So in this kind of industry, how can you define your exit strategy? What's your exit strategy? If you can just talk about a little bit about your
Oh,
exit strategy, and then maybe it's going to answer the same questions, like how early stage founder can define their exit strategy.
there are several. So we were approached early on by strategic
Hmm.
partners. So that's a potential acquisition. We were approached by private equity firms already as well, monitoring our progress. Um, so those are two potential exits, right? Acquisition through a strategic and acquisition by a PE firm. Um, and then what was the other one? Yeah, there are two strategics and two PE firms that have been monitoring our growth. So you know, those are
Yeah, like
potential
acquisition could be easily
acquisitions,
one
right?
exit strategy for you,
Yeah.
100%.
That,
No,
IPO is always like,
IPO is always a dream, right? And you never know,
right?
man. Yeah,
um, or maybe a merger with a bigger company. That would be nice as well. Yeah. So
yeah,
those
no, that's
are,
great.
or you just keep going. You keep
Yeah,
going.
I love the energy in your team. Honestly, I know Brian keep always talking about, hey,
He's
LiVeritas is
awesome.
like having a
He's
team that
awesome.
an entrepreneur can dream of, right? It's
Yeah, I
amazing
call them like,
journey. Yeah,
yeah, I
sorry.
call I call them Ash. I call them the magicians. Really, like how can six people in the
Yeah.
past year and a half? There are only six people like contributing tremendous
Mhm.
value in creating the company. Yeah, so these are the magicians. Like we are, yeah,
And
six.
it's all like the energy, the thing that you resonate with someone, like the
Mhm.
thing that you demand from the universe, it will help to get there. Like it's like
Oh, I hope
like
so.
attract likes. Here's science fails. I'm sorry, right?
Right. Yeah, it's sometimes all you have to do is acknowledge the need, articulate it, and then a couple of days later, boom, here it is.
Exactly.
I'm like, wow, thank you, universe. Yeah.
Right. No, thank you, Liza, for walking us through your amazing journey, like, and throwing really cool advice for the people who's watching us. This live is going to be, recorded and put it on our Dojo Academy page, so people will come back, watch it again. So that's it. Like we have enough. Let me see if someone is asking any questions in the chat as well. I think we have no more. So I really appreciated taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you are like super busy, right? Especially when it's Monday morning, right? So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And then it's gonna be recorded. I'll send you the link. Our team will send you the link as well. You can also use this. And people are watching us from all over the world. We always do Monday morning with such an inspiring story at Expert Dojo. Most of the time, Brian goes live with the amazing entrepreneurs talking about their growth journey. But sometimes I also, like I love to kind of like talk to very high energetic founders. That's what drives us as a VC, Liza.
That's
Honestly, like surrounded with
agree.
amazing founders like yourself. This is the thing, it's all
Well,
energy transfer, right?
that's right. I think that's what we need. Like positive transfer positive energy as much
A
as we
hundred
can.
percent, exactly,
And even be light to others, right?
right.
Be source of light to others if needed. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Truly appreciate you jumping on. You have a great rest of your day, week, and the coming years as well on your growth and everything. All right.
Thank you so much for this. Have a good one. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Liza. We'll touch base again